The dangers in wrestling are inherent, and any number of injuries can happen at any time, from broken bones and torn tendons to concussions and beyond. And while the blade has been used to create the illusion that a move, strike, or weapon shot has busted a WWE star open, there have also been many other times where that effect has been achieved for real, aka the hard way. Normally accidental, performers have sometimes done this on purpose to enhance a storyline, match, or angle. Those absolute mad bastards. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 WWE stars who got busted open hard way. Join us. Number 10, Kurt Angle. It didn't take Kurt Angle too long to wave goodbye to his pure amateur ideals and embrace the down and dirty ethos of WWE's brand of sports entertainment. That extended to getting color, which the Olympic gold medalist was happy to do when the occasion called for it. Like, for example, during his epic WWE title match with Stone Cold Steve Austin at SummerSlam 2001. There was no need for him to bleed during or after his mid-card match with Mark Henry on the August 15th, 2002 episode of SmackDown, but new kid on the block Rey Mysterio and his tricky knee braces saw to it that Angle shed some claret. Following his victory over the world's strongest man, Angle was attacked by the Masked Man and sent to the outside with a top rope Hurricane Rana, a spot which incidentally needed to be filmed 3 times as they kept bungling it up. The third time wasn't the charm for old Kurt, whose head came into contact with Rey's brace, breaking the skin. 14 stitches were required to close the wound. Rumor has it that Angle also needed an extra pint of milk to numb the pain. Number 9, Finn Balor. Hell in a Cell is perhaps WWE's most feared stipulation match. In these more sanitized times, however, the cage may have gotten bigger and turned red for a bit for some reason, but the threat of danger has noticeably decreased. Thankfully, we got a decent amount of gore for Edge and Finn Balor's cell encounter at WrestleMania 39. I say we're thankful for the unintentional bloodshed giving the cell itself an element of danger that it had been missing for a while, but we are obviously not glad that the Judgment Day leader got his head caved in with a steel ladder. It was hard to properly see the outcome since the match official momentarily halted proceedings and Balor was in full demon mode makeup, but the evidence was on the canvas for all to see as the match chugged along. Just the 14 staples for Finn and his demonic laceration afterwards. Number 8, Lita. It is exceptionally rare to see WWE's female performers get busted open, but it does happen every now and again. We've seen plenty of black eyes and bloody lips over the years, especially in more recent times as the performance level and physicality of the women's division has increased dramatically, but very seldom does the red stuff flow freely. I suppose if there was a time you would want it to happen, a championship match on a major pay-per-view would be the place. Future WWE Hall of Famers Ivory and Lita were duking it out for the right to censor members' women's title when a live round caught the Team Extreme's plucky Daredevil. The potato shot opened Lita up and added some decent drama to what had been, in truth, a rather scrappy contest to that point. It started out as a trickle, but before long, the left side of Lita's face was the same color as her hair, with the plasma staining Ivory's white shirt too. Somewhat surprisingly, considering the amount of blood that spouted from it, only a couple of stitches were required to close the cut. Number 7, Randy Orton. In a post-PG world, the practice of blading, intentionally cutting yourself with a razor blade to induce blood flow, was strictly outlawed by WWE. Dave Bautista found out the hard way when he was fined $100,000 for gigging during a cage match main event with Chris Jericho on an episode of Raw in 2008. Turns out Vince McMahon wasn't keen on his wrestlers mutilating themselves on his flagship show, but his stance was different when it came to drawing blood with Brock Lesnar's elbows 8 years later. At SummerSlam 2016, Lesnar battered the skull of the Legend Killer to win the match via technical knockout. Not only did the very real blows from the former UFC heavyweight champion give Orton a concussion, go figure, it also caused a pool of blood to form next to him on the canvas. All in all, it took 10 staples to put Randy together again. It was a powerful visual and had some fans questioning whether Lesnar had gone into business for himself, fueled by Shane McMahon marching out and an uninformed Jericho Jericho throwing a tizzy about the situation backstage. It was all part of a perplexing plan to, I suppose, make Brock look like a monster, because he really needs the help, doesn't he? Number 6, Roman Reigns. Back with the Beast Incarnate now, and another incident where his pointy appendage did some damage during a major main event. A lot can be said about Brock's WrestleMania 34 headliner with Roman Reigns, that it was slow, boring, repetitive, lacked heat, wasn't what people wanted to see, didn't click, turned into a complete disaster. Well, you get the picture, but they at least strived for epic out there. As the match descended into train wreck territory, Lesnar mounted Reigns and cut him open with a series of hard elbow strikes. I mean, he really opened him up because the big dog sprung a gusher out there. It spurred on his futile comeback before falling to an F5, but the visual of a bloody Roman sporting the proverbial crimson mask, his eyes bulging out of his head, was one of the bout's only highlights. After the show, rumors ran rampant that the juice was of the artificial variety and that the tribal chief had, shock horror, used blood capsules to get the desired effect. This was dispelled when Reigns came out on Raw the next night with his forehead seriously swollen up, and WWE confirming that 12 sutras and 10 staples were needed to plug the cut up. Number 5, Brock Lesnar. And we are back with more Brock Lesnar, though this time he's on the receiving end. Hey, nobody ever said he couldn't dish it out and take it. Since his WWE return in 2012, Lesnar has made a habit of getting split open, either intentionally or otherwise. One of the gnarliest instances of Brock getting bloody came on the February 25th, 2013 episode of Raw, when he engaged in a vicious brawl with a returning Triple H. Lesnar went head first into the ring post, turning himself into a human hot dog with extra ketchup due to a cut that required 18 staples to close. He got cut in the WrestleMania 31 main event, as well as during a Madison Square Garden house show outing with Austin Theory on the road to WrestleMania 38. Those were all apparently accidental, but there have been some intentional instances too, such as his 2015 Hell in a Cell war with The Undertaker and his grudge match with Cody Rhodes at Backlash 2023, where he collided with the exposed turnbuckle. People sometimes question Brock's love for the business, but not many in recent memory have so willingly risked their lovely pink skin for it. Number 4, Bobby Lashley. When the new World Heavyweight title was ushered in via a thrown-together tournament, it felt like any real sense of proper stakes or high drama was sorely lacking. Big bad Bobby Lashley inadvertently turned his 2 tournament matches into more of a spectacle when he got cut open on the May 12, 2023 edition of SmackDown. On his way to a triple threat triumph over Austin Theory and Sheamus, the Almighty was launched into the steel stairs by Theory, causing the gash. He may have been opened up and dripping fluid out of his head, but Lashley rallied and won the match. Later in the freaking night, he met AJ Styles for the chance to freaking square off with Seth freaking Rollins in the freaking final. During the match with the Phenomenal One, Bobby's cut was opened once again. Styles, ever the wrestling strategist, targeted it by repeatedly smacking him in the noggin. A great strategy, you have to admit, and one that paid off as AJ booked his place in the final while Lashley looked like a warrior in defeat. Number 3, CM Punk. The main event All-Star Money in the Bank ladder match from the 2013 pay-per-view of the same name was a rough night at the office for several of the combatants. Christian suffered a chipped tooth, while both CM Punk and the returning Rob Van Dam ended up leaving Philadelphia with a little more metal in their heads. RVD got 14 staples for a gash in his forehead, which, while no doubt painful, did not result in that much blood lost. Punk, on the other hand, had it running in his eyes after Paul Heyman turned on him by braining him with a ladder. Talk about adding injury to insult, eh? The straight-edge superstar got 13 staples for the pleasure. It wasn't the first time Friendly Phil had been busted open Hardway during a PG-era pay-per-view, as his match with Rey Mysterio at Over the Limit 2010 had to be momentarily stopped just minutes in, much to the annoyance of Punk, who waved off any mid-match attempts to clean him off. Interestingly, Punk Punk was the architect of one of WWE's most obvious blade jobs ever during a cage match with Jerry Lawler, but the then WWE champion wasn't fined or suspended for it. Number 2, Beth Phoenix. Back to the fairer sex now, and I suppose the Royal Rumble match increases the likelihood of an in-ring accident happening. With 30 females entering the bout and so much going on, it's hardly surprising that there could be some timing issues, miscommunications, or other mistakes that could result in accidental injuries. Entering the 2020 Women's Rumble with just 5 days' notice, Beth Phoenix was booked to last almost half an hour before being eliminated. Shortly after getting in the ring, however, the Glamazon cracked the back of her head off the ring post while grappling with Bianca Belair on the turnbuckles. As the match wore on, Beth's hair began to change colour, to the point that Edge must have been sat backstage wondering when his blonde wife decided to become a redhead. Credit to Phoenix for sticking to her task and continuing to wrestle as her mane became matted with blood. Edge would reveal afterwards that the cut required 6 staples to shut and praised his missus for her toughness. Number 1, Paul London. The Cruiserweight title match between Paul London and Billy Kidman from the April 7th, 2005 episode of SmackDown should have been a routine bit of business. You know, the two go out there, put on an entertaining contest for the 5 or 6 minutes they were allotted before getting the hell out of Dodge. While the former tag team championship partners had engaged in a personal feud in the past, it had really been put to bed many months ago. On this night, however, things took a turn for the dramatic when Kidman went to scoop his opponent out of the ring. On his way between the bottom and middle rope, London hit his head on an exposed steel bolt, busting him wide open. This forced something of a script change, with referee Charles Robinson intervening in an attempt to stop the match. Despite leaking plasma, London did what any good babyface champion would do and fought through the pain to eke out a victory via a roll-up. London later called the unplanned blood a gift from the wrestling gods, and the following week cut a fiery promo while wearing a bandage, but WWE neglected to fully capitalize on it, and all London had to show for his efforts was a nice scar.